all-terrain battle vehicles, aka tanks, were first created by the British Landship Committee in 1915 for trench warfare in World War I. Despite being bulky, slow, and frequently stuck, the tank ushered in a new era of movable fortresses, in time for the peak of tank warfare during World War II. Between 1939 and 1945, there were over 160 different tank designs. Some were even equipped with flamethrowing and anti-aircraft capabilities. Each new design attempted to counter its nemesis. Some tanks were small in stature but light and quick. Some were heavy-duty and meant to take out fortifications from great distances. And others had a perfect blend of power and maneuverability. Although the modern tank does not play the prominent role in warfare it once did, its mere presence on the battlefield is often enough to deter an enemy's advance.
1 Minute History. The first Congress of the newly established United States is hopelessly deadlocked on two critical issues. James Madison and the Southern states are pushing to move the seat of government from New York City to a location on the Potomac River outside of Virginia, an idea rejected by Northerners. Alexander Hamilton leads the Northern states, who want to create a national bank and pay off the states' debts from the American Revolution. Southerners oppose the assumption of debt, fearing the idea of a strong centralized national government. Thomas Jefferson invites Hamilton and Madison to dinner at his estate and helps broker a compromise. Southerners will not block legislation on the assumption of state debts if Northerners support the relocation of the seat of government. Passage of the Residence and Funding Acts of 1790 establishes U.S. credit at home and abroad, which allows Thomas Jefferson, as president in 1803, to finance the Louisiana Purchase.
In the wake of Martin Luther's Reformation, a prophet named Jan Matthias calls on members of the Anabaptist movement to flock to Munster for the second coming of Christ. After failing to get rid of the cultist, the Prince Bishop returns to lay siege to the city. God tells Jan Matthias that he would not be harmed, so he rides out to face the army. The prophet's head is put on a spike and his genitals are nailed to the city gate. Soon after, his disciple Jan van Leyden proclaims himself the real prophet, restoring the town's faith and leading them into further peril. Van Leyden mandates polygamy, kills challengers, and abolishes the right to own property. Under siege for over a year, famine breaks out and many die of starvation. When the Prince Bishop retakes Munster, leaders of the rebellion are captured, tortured, and killed, with their corpses placed in iron cages for all to see for 50 years. The cages still hang to this day.
In the 1st century AD, Celtic Iceni queen Boudica leads an insurgency against Roman Empire forces as they conquer the British Isles. As dictated in her husband Prasaiticus's will, he bequeaths his kingdom to their 2 daughters and the Roman Emperor Nero, with the intent of keeping the Celtic tribes sovereign from overt Roman rule. Upon death, however, his will is subverted and the kingdom is annexed by the empire. Boudica and her daughters will pay an unfortunate personal price by way of physical and sexual violence. With pangs of retribution, Boudica leads her tribe along with other Celts in revolt. Upwards of 80,000 Celts and Romans perish in multiple uprisings throughout the Isles. Boudica's charge ultimately fails, ending in her death, the cause of which is still unclear nearly 2 millennia later. To this day, she is a hero within the United Kingdom.
1799. During Napoleon's campaign into Egypt, one of his officers discovers an unusual stone in the masonry of Fort Julian. Further inspection reveals that the granite slab contains ancient bilingual inscriptions and may offer the potential to decipher the untranslated hieroglyphic language. It becomes known as the Rosetta Stone. And despite the conflict in Egypt, lithographic copies and plaster casts are sent to scholars throughout Europe. Research reveals that the Rosetta Stone is inscribed with 3 versions of a decree issued at Memphis, Egypt in 196 BCE by King Ptolemy V. The 2 versions near the top are in ancient Egyptian, using hieroglyphic and demotic script. The bottom version is in ancient Greek. Because ancient Greek was a known language, the Rosetta Stone proved to be the key in deciphering Egyptian hieroglyphics. The Rosetta Stone has been on continuous display at the British Museum.
Pancho Villa is a national folk hero and an icon of the Mexican Revolution. At 16, he drops his birth name José Doroteo Arango Arambula after killing a man for threatening to sexually assault his sister. He escapes into the Sierra Madres and assumes the name Pancho Villa. A fugitive at the dawn of the Mexican Revolution, Villa aligns with Francisco Madero. When Madero is executed during the 10 tragic days, Villa and his División del Norte champion the cause of the lower classes in their pursuit to restore democracy. A crippling military defeat at the Battle of Celaya forces the United States to recognize the government of Venustiano Carranza. Villa feels betrayed but continues to fight. Low on supplies, Pancho attacks Columbus, New Mexico and becomes a wanted man for killing Americans. Pardoned by Mexico, Villa speaks publicly about running for office, but is assassinated before he can become a threat to his rivals.
March 5, 1770. British soldiers are accused of killing 5 colonists in what becomes known as the Boston Massacre. Lawyer John Adams agrees to defend the soldiers, despite the damage it may do to his reputation in the colonies. Propaganda pamphlets are printed across the colonies, so the trial is delayed by several months to let tensions settle. The British government needs a fair trial to avoid further rebellion, while the Patriots believe an unjust conviction would reduce support for the independence movement. Captain Thomas Preston is found not guilty because he did not order his men to fire. 6 of the 8 soldiers are acquitted, while the other 2 are found guilty of manslaughter for firing directly into the crowd. Their punishment? A mere branding of the letter M for murder on one of their thumbs. The 4 civilians involved were also acquitted. John Adams writes, "The foundation of American independence was laid." 1 Minute History.
The Zanzibar Sultanate is in chaos after the death of Sultan Hamad bin Duwaini. His 29-year-old nephew, Khalid bin Bargash, declares himself sultan in violation of a treaty signed with Britain that requires their approval. The British issue an ultimatum requiring Khalid to step down, but he chooses to stand his ground and barricades himself inside the palace. On August 27, 1896, at 9:02 a.m., the Royal Navy begins a bombardment from the harbor, setting the palace on fire and disabling the Sultan's defenses. The British engage in a small naval battle and sink 3 Zanzibari vessels. By 9:40 a.m., the conflict is over, with Zanzibar suffering 500 casualties and the British reporting only 1 injured sailor. Sultan Khalid escapes and receives political asylum from Germany, and the British install Sultan Hamad at the head of a puppet government. At 38 minutes long, the Anglo-Zanzibar War is the shortest war in history.
Alexander Hamilton. January 11, 1755, Alexander Hamilton is born in the West Indies. His employers pay for his education at King's College, now Columbia University. After writing his first political paper, he joins the Continental Army and becomes an advisor to General Washington, leading a victorious charge at Yorktown. After the war, he becomes a lawyer and defends British loyalists before being named delegate to the Continental Congress. Hamilton drafts the Federalist Papers and then signs the U.S. Constitution. Appointed Secretary of the Treasury, he establishes public credit and forms the first Bank of the United States. Aaron Burr challenges Hamilton to a duel for calling him the most dangerous man in America. He sustains a mortal wound at the hands of Vice President Burr and dies the following day. Hamilton brokered the dinner table bargain, created the Coast Guard, and is the subject of the hit Broadway musical Hamilton. 1 Minute History.
October 26, 1881, Tombstone, Arizona. After a long night of drinking, Ike Clanton, member of a group of cattle rustlers known as the Cowboys, threatens to kill the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday. Lawmen Virgil and Morgan Earp arrest Ike Clanton for carrying firearms in the city. Outside the courthouse, Deputy City Marshal Wyatt Earp pistol whips Tom McLaury for carrying a revolver on his hip. Around 3 p.m., Ike and Billy Clanton, Tom and Frank McLaury, and Billy Clybourne gather in a vacant lot when the Earp brothers and Doc Holliday attempt to disarm the men. The most famous gunfight in history begins, 6 doors away from the OK Corral. 30 seconds and 30 bullets later, Billy Clanton and the McLaury brothers are dead. Murder charges are filed, but the lawmen are exonerated. A desperate fight between officers of the law, with 3 men hurled into eternity in the duration of a moment.